Alright, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power review here. My thoughts on the show. I'm going to try to make this review pretty quick because I feel like I can sum up my thoughts pretty well with this show. Um, Before I go into it, a little context about me as a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm a pretty new fan. I would say I watched movies maybe like in 2019. That was the first time I watched them. I watched the first three probably two or three times now. I watched the Hobbit trilogy. I want to get into the books now. I just started The Hobbit. I'm literally like on chapter one. So I'm not a book fan. I haven't been watching movies since I was a kid. I feel like with this show, if you're a diehard fan, if you know a lot of the lore already, I think you probably like the show more than I did. This was my most anticipated show of the year. When I made a video a couple months ago, or maybe in the beginning of the year, when I looked at my most anticipated shows of the year, this was number one because if someone asked me, what's the best trilogy of all time, I'll probably say Lord of the Rings. I think all three are pretty much 10 out of 10 movies. Maybe The Two Towers is the one I like the least. But overall, that trilogy is amazing. So to think that we were maybe going to get a similar type of vibe or production in a TV setting, it excited me. And this was the show with the most budget, I think, put into a show ever. I think it was around 200 million. So that excited me as well. Even on face value, just having a show with that much budget, I was excited to see the CGI and all that stuff. So I guess I'll start there with my positives. I would say the CGI really did blow me away at times. Seeing this sort of like theatrical cinematic experience right in your home. We've had the before with movies, but I think just on a TV show level, I've never seen this much CGI production into something. So I thought it worked well. I think it was really cool. I think the score was great. That's kind of where my positives die out. There were three episodes I thought were great or really good. The first episode, I loved it. I think that was my favorite episode, the one that really excited me because like it was so in your face, like that CGI in the beginning. I think I was surprised and taken aback by like the level of how beautiful it looked. And there were some beautiful shots in there. Cinematography was great too. And the costumes are great and the production design, all that stuff was really, really good. I think my main problem is with the story and the characters. I couldn't really relate to, or not relate to. They didn't really resonate with me in terms of the story. There were a lot of different stories going on, though. We followed a lot of characters. I would say Galadriel and Elrond, because we know those characters from the original movies, obviously we're like hooked on their story the most. And I think the broad idea of their story, like this is what they were doing before Lord of the Rings, I think that was cool. I think Morfydd Clark, the one who plays Galadriel, the girl, I thought she did really good as a character. I saw her in Saint Maud. She killed in that movie. So I thought she was good here. I thought Elrond was good too. My problems aren't really with them. I guess it's pretty much with their story. This was an 8 episodic series. There's an hour-long episodes each. I feel like I didn't really care for their stories all that much until like the very end. Galadriel is sort of like... I was confused a lot with this show. I think some of my problems with this show in terms of the story, it's kind of like my fault as well. I feel like I should have put more effort into actually trying to understand the lore and what's really going on behind these episodes. I wish I watched more YouTube videos or read some more articles about what was going on, because I feel like after that first episode I did get lost a little bit. We're following all these different characters and they're all going on their own little journeys, and we're trying to get to know so many of them that I just sort of got lost and I didn't really care to like put in the effort to get back on. So I do blame myself a little bit in terms of like how I feel about this show. I feel like I could have tried harder. But that being said, I would just really was not invested in what was going on my screen for a lot of the time. Even with the stranger, how he pretty much is. I'm going to be talking about spoilers in this video as well, I guess. We know that he's pretty much Gandalf, right? And by the end, we sort of get that confirmed when he says the wise and the wizard and all that stuff. So another thing I did like though is the whole Sauron thing and trying to figure out who he was and which character was playing him. Was it the stranger? Was it one of the high elves that we thought for a while was Sauron? And then he says that he killed Sauron, and we're all going back and forth. And then there's like twists at the end, and the finale I thought was great too. Like that's what I'm saying. There were a couple episodes I thought were great. The first, the last, in episode 6, I think that was the episode when I think they get attacked, or that's like when the volcanic eruption happens, or at the end. I thought that one was great. I think that was very action packed, that one. But a lot of the episodes, it just felt like it was dragging a lot. We had the storyline with the elves and the dwarves. I thought that wasn't interesting until the end as well, when we find out that the dwarf has like the power to like save the Elvish race. It's like in the palm of his hands because they need like that thing to bring it back. So I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here. Like I said, I do blame myself for not fully understanding a lot of these concepts and the storylines and the ideas, because I feel like if I did, I would like to show a little bit more. But that being said, a lot was on my screen. I was bored, even with the little Hobbit ripoffs when the strangers like bonding with them and they're walking through and they're talking. It's just like I don't know. I'm like I don't really care for these characters all that much, so I was never really invested. And I also thought it was cool how we got to see like how Mordor was like actually formed from the Southlands. That was a cool moment. Like the show has a lot of cool moments, especially towards the end. There's a lot of like climactic things that are happening, and the dialogue seems good. And people are either dying, and we feel sad for them, and it felt like a lot of great moments that felt kind of hollow for me. Like I said, because I just didn't really care. So like even though I'm watching, I'm like looks really cool, and this seems really cool, and like I feel like I should be feeling something. And I feel like there is like a payoff from like what, because we spent so much time with these characters, it's like it's coming to a conclusion. It's being wrapped up pretty well. I think for the storyline of what it was trying to tell, I was like, this is a good wrap up of the season. That's why I gave the last episode like a 3.9 out of 5. Like, I thought it was a great finale. But again, like, it sort of felt hollow for me. I'm like, why am I not as interested in this as I want to be? Like, this is my most anticipated show. Why am I not feeling what I want to feel? And maybe that's just because I had a lot of expectations for it. And I don't think it met my expectations at all. And I'm talking like, I feel like I am talking kind of good about the show because like I said, the last episode was good. But not gonna lie, for the majority of this whole season, it's kind of been a struggle watching it. And even with the other Elvish character that was black, and then the little kid and his mom and the sword, I did not care at all for any of those characters, what they were doing. The whole king, when the whole twist was big spoiler now, when he turns out to be Sauron, that was great. That was sort of part of the finale, that whole twist and moments. But for the duration of even his story, without the whole series, because I didn't really think that he was going to be Sauron, that was a cool twist. I didn't really care about his whole bringing the king back and doing all this stuff. It felt like a lot of the original trilogy, which is good and bad. The dwarf and elves relationship. We got the wizard. We're following kind of like the same type of characters, besides the hobbits or whatever. But I don't know. I just felt okay. Like I was never really excited about anything or cared that much. So my rating for the whole show, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. That could be rounded off to like maybe like a low 6 out of 10. I think I sympathize with both sides. If you really enjoyed the series and you got into it and you cared for the story and the characters, it could be your number one show of the year. You could have really loved everything about it. Maybe you're a diehard Lord of the Rings fan. That's exactly what you wanted. For me, just like, I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get into it. I would literally, I would force myself to watch the next episode. That's why it took me so long to even get this review out, because I just finished it today. I just been putting it off, and I don't care for watching the next episode. Like, an episode would end, I'd be like, that was either bad or I didn't care. And then, literally, I felt like that ever since after episode 1. I feel like I didn't care all the way up until episode 6 with the volcanic eruption, and we start to sort of go towards the end. That's where I was like, wow, that was a great episode. Let's see what happens next. And then episode 7, literally, they're just walking around the whole episode. And I thought it would be like this really cool thing, because it's like Galadriel's like running into the volcanic ash and there's smoke everywhere, and like I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. And next episode it's like they're just traveling and walking. Like that was the worst episode, I think, episode 7. So then I was like, this is just bad. But thankfully episode 8 I thought was great. So again, one of those shows where it's sort of like a wave of emotions, as some episodes I thought were good, some I thought were bad. But there was just that big gap between after episode 1 all the way up until episode 6, where I just didn't care. And then even after episode 6 at 7, it really plummeted to like the worst of the show. And then it went up again, and it ended on a high note. So I'll watch season 2. Maybe I'll try to understand the story a little bit more by the time we get up to season 2. I probably won't rewatch the show, but it will be 2 years before season 2, which is a shit ton of time between seasons. So I'll have time to really let the show sink in, maybe read some other people's thoughts, or I haven't seen anyone else really thought of the show. I put up a poll on Instagram. It was sort of half and half of people liking it, people not liking it. So I guess it's just sort of up to you and what kind of fan you are. But let me know down below what you guys think of Rings of Power if you saw it. I was definitely disappointed with it just because I had such high expectations for it. But maybe season 2 will be a little bit more easier to understand and follow, and maybe a little more epic, even though, the show for what it was, if you liked it, I get it. I guess it just wasn't for me this season. So if you guys enjoyed this review, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you're new. But I will see you on the next video. Have a great rest of the day.